My husband had an affair with my boss and got her pregnant, now they want me to adopt their baby. Hi Reddit. Never thought I'd be posting something like this, but I need to get this off my chest because my life has completely fallen apart in the last few months. My husband Nathan, 36M, and I, Diana, 33F, have been married for 6 years now. We met at a friend's party back in college and hit it off immediately. After dating for 2 years, we got married in a small ceremony with just close friends and family. I thought we had a good relationship, we rarely fought, enjoyed the same things, and had plans for our future together. We both had great careers. I work in marketing for a mid-sized company and was doing really well, even getting noticed by upper management. Nathan works in finance and his career was also going well. We bought a beautiful 3-bedroom house in a nice neighborhood about 4 years ago, planning to fill those extra rooms with kids someday. We started trying for a baby about 2 years into our marriage. At first, we weren't too worried when nothing happened. We figured it would just take time and kept trying. After a year with no success, we decided to see a doctor. That's when we found out I had endometriosis. The doctor told us it would make natural conception difficult but not impossible. We were disappointed but still hopeful. We tried different medications first, then eventually moved on to IVF. The whole process was absolute hell. The constant doctor's appointments, the hormone injections, the emotional roller coaster every month when we'd get our hopes up only to have them crushed when it didn't work. Each failed attempt hit me harder than the last. The physical pain was bad enough, but the emotional toll was even worse. I felt like my body was failing me, like I was failing Nathan. He tried to be supportive at first, telling me it wasn't my fault, that we'd figure it out together, but I could tell it was wearing on him too. He became increasingly distant and irritable. We started arguing more, usually about small things that didn't really matter. I told myself it was just the stress of the treatments and the financial strain they were putting on us. IVF isn't cheap, and we'd already gone through 3 rounds with no success. While all this was happening, things at work started to get weird too. My boss, Vanessa, 39F, had always been a mentor to me. She took me under her wing when I first started at the company and we developed what I thought was a friendship outside of work. We'd grab lunch together, sometimes drinks after work. She knew all about our fertility struggles, I confided in her about everything. About 6 months ago, Vanessa's attitude toward me completely changed. She started micromanaging all my projects, criticizing my work for no reason, and creating this tense atmosphere that made me dread going to the office. I couldn't figure out what I'd done wrong. I tried talking to her about it a few times, but she'd just give vague responses about maintaining professional standards. At home, Nathan's behavior became increasingly suspicious. He started working late almost every night, became super protective of his phone, and emotionally checked out of our marriage. When I tried to talk to him about trying another round of IVF, he'd shut down or change the subject. I still believed it was just the stress getting to him. How naive I was. Last month, I was driving home from a dinner with my friend when I took a different route than usual because of road construction. That's when I saw Nathan's car parked outside a house I recognized as Vanessa's. It was almost 10 p.m. and he told me he was working late at the office. I sat in my car for almost an hour, trying to convince myself there was some innocent explanation. Maybe they were discussing a project? Vanessa's husband works in finance too, so maybe they were all having a meeting? But deep down, I knew. I drove home and waited for Nathan. When he finally walked in around midnight, I confronted him. I asked him where he'd been, giving him the chance to tell me the truth. He gave me some story about working late and then grabbing drinks with coworkers. I told him I saw his car at Vanessa's house. The look on his face said it all. After some pushing, he finally admitted it. He'd been having an affair with Vanessa for months. Months. While I was pumping my body full of hormones and crying myself to sleep over our inability to conceive, my husband was sleeping with my boss. I felt like someone had punched me in the stomach. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't think. I just started throwing his things into a suitcase and told him to get out. He tried to explain, saying it just happened, that they didn't mean for it to go this far, that he still loved me. All the usual bullshit excuses. I didn't want to hear any of it. I just wanted him gone. So he left. I called in sick to work the next day. And the day after that. I couldn't face Vanessa. I couldn't face anyone. I just stayed in bed crying and trying to make sense of how my life had fallen apart so completely. On the 3rd day, my mom came over and practically forced me to get up, shower, and eat something. She stayed with me for a few days, helping me start to process everything and figure out what to do next. I decided to file for divorce. There was no coming back from this kind of betrayal. I hired a lawyer and started the process. I also started looking for a new job. There was no way I could continue working under Vanessa. 2 weeks after I kicked Nathan out, I was at home sorting through our photos to separate mine from his when someone knocked on the door. It was Vanessa. I almost slammed the door in her face, but curiosity got the better of me. What could she possibly have to say to me? She asked if she could come in, and against my better judgment, I let her. That's when she dropped the second bomb. She was pregnant. With Nathan's baby. The baby that I had been trying desperately to have for years was now growing inside the woman who had betrayed me. The irony was almost too much to bear. But it gets worse. After telling me about the pregnancy, Vanessa had the absolute audacity to make me an offer. She said she didn't want to be a mother. That her career was too important to her. That she was only telling me because she thought I might want to adopt the baby. She actually framed it as doing me a favor. Like this was my chance to finally have a child. As if taking in the baby that resulted from my husband's affair with my boss was some kind of gift. I was speechless. The sheer nerve of this woman to even suggest such a thing. I told her to get out of my house and never contact me again. She seemed genuinely surprised by my reaction, like she thought I'd be grateful for her offer. It was unbelievable. Since then, things have gotten even more complicated. Nathan has been all over the place, sometimes begging me to take him back, promising he'll end things with Vanessa, other times agreeing with her crazy adoption idea. He keeps saying things like we could raise the baby together, that this could be our chance to have the family we always wanted. As if I could ever look at that child and not see the betrayal. My parents and friends have been incredibly supportive. They're all outraged on my behalf and keep telling me I need to cut both Nathan and Vanessa out of my life completely. And I know they're right. But a small part of me still wants to be a mother so badly that for a brief moment, I actually considered Vanessa's offer. That's why I'm here. I need some outside perspective. Am I crazy for even thinking about this? Is there any universe where adopting this baby could work? Or am I just desperate and not thinking clearly? I know what the answer probably is. I just need to hear it from someone else. What should I do? Update 1. First of all, I want to thank everyone for your comments and support on my original post. I was in such a dark place when I wrote it, and reading your responses helped me feel less alone. You were all absolutely right. Adopting Vanessa's baby would be a terrible idea, and I've made the decision to firmly reject that option despite continued pressure from both Vanessa and Nathan. The past 6 weeks have been a roller coaster. I'm making progress with the divorce proceedings. My lawyer says it should be pretty straightforward since we don't have kids and our finances aren't too complicated. Nathan moved most of his stuff out of the house last weekend. It was strange watching him pack up his life while avoiding eye contact with me. This man who I thought I'd grow old with, now practically a stranger. Work has been its own special kind of hell. I'm still looking for a new job, but in this economy, it's not as easy as I'd hoped. So for now, I'm stuck working under Vanessa, which is as awkward and uncomfortable as you'd imagine. Her attitude toward me has shifted dramatically over the past few weeks. At first, she was almost friendly, clearly thinking I was considering her adoption offer. But when I made it clear that was never going to happen, she became even worse than before. Now she's using her pregnancy as some kind of bizarre power play. She'll deliberately schedule meetings right when she knows she gets morning sickness, then make a big show of how difficult pregnancy is. Or she'll loudly discuss her doctor's appointments within earshot of me. It's like she's flaunting the fact that she's carrying Nathan's child, knowing how much I wanted a baby. I've started documenting all these incidents, creating a paper trail for potential legal action if needed. Nathan's behavior has been all over the place. Some days he calls me crying, saying the affair was a huge mistake and that it only happened because of the stress from our fertility treatments. He'll beg me to reconsider the divorce, promising he'll make it up to me somehow. Then the next day, he'll turn cold and cruel, actually having the nerve to blame me for driving him to Vanessa. As if my infertility justifies his cheating. He's also been dragging his feet on the financial aspects of our separation. Despite the fact that I supported him financially for 2 years while he transitioned careers, he's now reluctant to agree to any kind of spousal support. I found out something else that makes this all even worse. I was having coffee with a mutual friend last week who let slip that Nathan and Vanessa's affair didn't start after our fertility issues like Nathan claimed. They'd been seeing each other for months before we even got my diagnosis. This friend had seen them together at a hotel bar over a year ago but assumed it was a work thing. This revelation destroyed any lingering doubts I had about leaving Nathan. He didn't cheat because of the stress or my infertility, he cheated because he's a selfish asshole who couldn't keep it in his pants. The most recent development is perhaps the most disturbing. I was working late at the office last week and overheard a conversation between Vanessa and another manager. They didn't know I was still there, and what I heard made my blood run cold. Vanessa had apparently pursued Nathan specifically to sabotage me after she found out I was being considered for a promotion that she wanted. She saw him at a company event, recognized him as my husband, and deliberately set out to seduce him as some twisted form of revenge. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. The level of calculation and cruelty involved is just staggering. The next day, I got a call from a competing company that I'd interviewed with a few weeks ago. They offered me a position with better pay and benefits than my current job. It feels like a sign. I'm going to accept the offer and finally free myself from having to see Vanessa every day. I've also decided to sell the house. There are too many memories here, both good and bad. I need a fresh start in a place that doesn't remind me of Nathan every time I walk through the door. My realtor thinks we can list it within the month, and with the current market, it should sell quickly. As for the baby, Vanessa is about 3 months along now. She still occasionally brings up the adoption idea, usually through Nathan. Last week he actually had the nerve to tell me that the baby would look like him, as if that was supposed to be some kind of selling point. I've made it absolutely clear to both of them that I want nothing to do with this child. It's not the baby's fault, of course, but I cannot and will not raise a living reminder of their betrayal. I'm taking things one day at a time. Some days are better than others. Some mornings I still wake up and forget for a brief, blissful moment that any of this happened. Then reality comes crashing back, and I have to drag myself out of bed and face another day. But I'm doing it. I'm surviving. And soon, I'll be thriving in my new job, my new home, my new life. Thanks again for all your support, Reddit. I'll update again when there's more to tell. Update 2. Hello again, Reddit. It's been about 5 months since my last update, and I wanted to share how things have progressed. A lot has changed, mostly for the better. First, I accepted that job offer I mentioned in my last update and have been working there for about 4 months now. The company culture is so much healthier than my old workplace, and my new boss actually respects me and my work. It's amazing how much of a difference that makes to my daily stress levels. I also sold the house and moved to a smaller apartment in a different part of the city. It's taking some time to adjust to the smaller space, but it feels good to be somewhere that doesn't hold memories of Nathan at every turn. The divorce was finalized last month. It ended up being more contentious than I expected because Nathan fought me on the division of assets, but ultimately my lawyer prevailed. I got my fair share, including a portion of his retirement account that he tried to hide from me. It's not about the money, it's about the principle. He doesn't get to cheat, lie, and then walk away with everything. Now for the Nathan and Vanessa saga. Vanessa is due to give birth next month, and from what I've heard through mutual connections, things between them have soured significantly. It turns out their affair wasn't built on the strongest foundation. Who would have thought? As Vanessa's pregnancy has progressed, Nathan's enthusiasm has waned considerably. He's now panicking about the realities of fatherhood and his financial obligations. Last week, Nathan called me out of the blue. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity got the better of me. He sounded desperate. He told me that he's not ready to be a father and that Vanessa is too focused on her career to be a good mother. Then he had the audacity to ask if I would reconsider adopting their baby. I laughed and hung up. He called back immediately, saying he was serious, that this could still be my chance to have the child I always wanted. I told him in no uncertain terms that I would never raise their child and that he needed to grow up and take responsibility for his actions. Through a former colleague who still works at my old company, I learned something interesting about Vanessa. While she's been telling Nathan she doesn't want the baby, she's apparently been setting up a nursery at her house and making parenting plans that don't include him. She's been lying to him about her intentions, possibly to keep him on the hook financially. I briefly considered telling Nathan about this, but decided to stay out of their drama. They made their bed, they can lie in it. I've had a couple of casual dates in the past few months. Nothing serious, just getting back out there. It's been nice to remember that there are decent men in the world who can hold a conversation and aren't completely self-absorbed. I'm not ready for anything serious yet, but it's a start. The most unexpected development came from my doctor. At my annual checkup, she mentioned a new treatment for endometriosis that might increase my chances of natural conception. It's not a guarantee, but it gives me hope that I might still have a biological child someday if that's what I decide I want. I'm also researching single-parent adoption. Being with Nathan made me think I needed a partner to be a parent, but that's not necessarily true. I can do this on my own if I choose to. For now, I'm focusing on my career and rebuilding my life. I'm making new friends through work and a local book club I joined. I'm rediscovering hobbies I'd set aside during my marriage. I'm healing, slowly but surely. Yesterday, I got a panicked voicemail from Nathan. Vanessa gave birth earlier than expected, a healthy baby girl. Apparently, right after the birth, Vanessa told Nathan she wants nothing to do with the baby and is leaving all childcare responsibilities to him. He sounded completely overwhelmed, claiming he can't handle this on his own and again suggesting that since I wanted a baby so badly, this was my chance. I deleted the message without responding and blocked his number. Their poor planning and life choices are not my problem to solve. I'll update again if anything significant happens, but honestly, I'm hoping to put this chapter of my life behind me for good. Update 3. Hi Reddit, it's been a full year since my last update, and what a difference a year makes. I'm in such a different place now, both literally and figuratively. After blocking Nathan's number, I enjoyed several months of peace without any contact from either him or Vanessa. I moved forward with my life, focusing on my career, my health, and rebuilding my sense of self. My new job has turned into something really fulfilling. I was promoted 6 months ago to lead a new marketing initiative, which has been challenging but incredibly rewarding. I've made genuine friendships with several coworkers, and work no longer feels like a source of anxiety or dread. I've also been seeing someone for the past 4 months. It's still new, but he's kind, thoughtful, and respectfully mindful of my past. We're taking things slow, and it feels healthy. I've been exploring the new endometriosis treatment my doctor mentioned. The early results are promising, though I'm trying not to get my hopes up too high. Either way, I'm not in any rush. If motherhood is in my future, great. If not, I'm becoming increasingly comfortable with the idea that a fulfilling life can take many forms. About 2 months ago, I received an unexpected email from Vanessa. She wanted to meet for coffee, claiming she had something important to discuss. Against my better judgment, I agreed, mainly out of curiosity. We met at a cafe far from both our workplaces, where we were unlikely to run into anyone we knew. Vanessa looked completely different from the confident, polished boss I remembered. She seemed tired and considerably less put together. She got straight to the point, admitting that her pregnancy had been intentional. She had deliberately pursued Nathan because she'd heard rumors that his family had money. When she discovered this wasn't true, his parents are comfortable but by no means wealthy, she lost interest in both Nathan and the idea of building a life with him. She offered what I assumed she thought was an apology, though it felt hollow and self-serving. She claimed she never intended to hurt me specifically, I was just collateral damage in her scheme. As if that somehow made it better. I listened silently, finished my coffee, and left without saying much. Her confession changed nothing for me. I had already moved on. A week after meeting with Vanessa, I was surprised by a knock at my door. I opened it to find Nathan standing there, holding a baby carrier with a sleeping infant inside. His daughter was about 10 months old at this point, and I had never seen her before. I instinctively stepped back, not inviting them in. Nathan looked terrible, unshaven, dark circles under his eyes, the embodiment of an overwhelmed single parent. He launched into a desperate monologue about how he couldn't handle parenthood, how Vanessa had completely abandoned them, refusing to pay any child support despite signing away her parental rights. He said his parents had been helping with childcare, but they were getting older and couldn't keep up with an increasingly mobile baby. Then he got to the real reason for his visit. He wanted to surrender his parental rights and have me adopt his daughter. When I refused, again, he became manipulative, suggesting he might put the baby up for adoption to strangers if I didn't step in. It was clear he was trying to play on what he perceived as my maternal instincts and desperation for a child. The fact that he thought this approach might work showed how little he truly knew me. I remained firm in my refusal but was genuinely concerned about the welfare of this innocent child. After Nathan left, I contacted Child Protective Services to report my concerns about his parenting capabilities and his threats to abandon his child. I also reached out to his parents, whom I'd always had a good relationship with. They were devastated by their son's behavior and immediately began the process of seeking custody of their granddaughter. Last I heard, they were awarded temporary custody while Nathan was ordered to attend parenting classes and therapy. It's strange to reflect on the past 2 years. So much pain and betrayal, yet I've emerged stronger and more self-aware than I ever thought possible. While I still hope to become a mother someday, I'm grateful I didn't compromise my dignity by accepting Nathan and Vanessa's manipulative offer. When I do have a child, whether through the new treatments, adoption, or some other path, it will be on my own terms, in my own time. The lesson I've learned through all of this is that sometimes the most painful experiences lead to necessary growth. I would never have chosen this path, but now that I'm here, I can appreciate how it shaped me. I've discovered a resilience I never knew I had, and a capacity for rebuilding that gives me hope for whatever comes next.